Can you read this letter? It's very important. The little boy's voice cracked through the rain. His soaking clothes clung to his small frame. His green eyes, my daughter's eyes, looked up at me with desperate hope. My hands trembled as I took the envelope. 7 years. 7 years since I'd seen those eyes. The letter inside had 3 words that changed everything. Grandma, please help. How did I end up here, with a grandson I'd never met begging me to save his mother from a monster I'd been too blind to see? Let me take you back. 3 months ago, everything was different. My name is Hannah Pemberton, and at 68 years old, I thought I'd finally found peace. After my husband passed away 12 years ago, I'd built a quiet life in Austin, Texas. My little craftsman house with the oak-shaded porch had been my sanctuary. I volunteered at the library, tended my rose garden, hosted book club every Thursday, and watched sunsets from the swing Raymond had installed 40 years ago. But the best part of my life, my daughter, Marlo. God, I loved that girl. Still do, even after everything. We talked every Sunday, 2-hour phone calls where she'd tell me about her work at the graphic design firm, about the new coffee shop she'd discovered, about her dreams of someday having children. I'd share recipes and stories, and the kind of maternal advice that probably annoyed her, but she tolerated anyway because she loved me. She was my whole world, my only child, my best friend. Then, 2 years ago, she met Griffin Kendrick at a business conference in Dallas. I remember the first call after she met him, the excitement in her voice. Mum, I think this is it. He's perfect. Successful investment banker, charming, funny, and he treats me like I'm the most important person in the world. 6 months later, they were engaged. Fast, I thought. But who was I to judge? Her father and I had married after 8 months of dating. I met Griffin at the engagement party. Tall, well-dressed, confident smile. He shook my hand and called me Mom immediately. I've heard so much about you, he said warmly. Marlo says you're the strongest woman she knows. I can see where she gets it. I liked him. God help me, I actually liked him. The wedding was beautiful. Small ceremony at a bed and breakfast in Fredericksburg. I cried watching Marlo say her vows. She looked so happy, so loved, so safe. That's all a mother wants, right? For her daughter to be safe and loved? I gave them $10,000 as a wedding gift, money I'd been saving for emergencies. Start your life together without debt, I told them. Build something beautiful. Marlo cried. Griffin hugged me tight. You're too generous, he whispered. I didn't know then that those words were a promise, a warning, a preview of what was coming. Looking back now, I can see the small signs. The way Griffin would check Marlo's phone during the reception. How he'd answer for her when people asked her questions. The tight grip on her waist that looked loving but felt controlling. But I didn't see it then. I was too happy, too grateful my daughter had found love, too blind to realize I'd just handed her over to a predator. It was a Tuesday afternoon in late July when everything changed. I was deadheading roses in my garden when my phone rang. Marlo's name lit up the screen. I smiled. She never called on Tuesdays. Mom? Her voice sounded strange, tight, rehearsed. Sweetheart, is everything okay? Yes, actually better than okay. Griffin and I have some news. A pause. I'm pregnant. I screamed. Actually screamed with joy. My neighbors probably thought someone was dying. Oh my God. Marlo. When? How far along are you? 12 weeks, she said quickly. We wanted to wait to tell you. Make sure everything was okay. Something in her tone felt off, but I pushed it aside. My baby was having a baby. I'm coming to visit this weekend, I announced. I need to hug you and start planning and… Actually, Mom, that's the other thing. Another pause. Longer this time. We're moving. To Austin. To be closer to you. My heart soared. What? Really? Griffin got transferred to the Austin branch. Better position. More money. And we thought, with the baby coming, we'd want you nearby. I was crying. Happy tears. My daughter and my future grandchild, just minutes away instead of 3 hours. When? I asked. 2 weeks. But Mom… Her voice dropped. The housing market here is crazy. We're looking at places in Austin, but everything's so expensive. And with the baby coming, money's tight. And we were wondering… I knew what was coming. I should have hesitated. If you need help with the down payment, I started. Actually, Griffin's voice cut in. He'd taken the phone. We were thinking something more temporary, just until we find the perfect place. Maybe we could stay with you? 3 months, tops. Save up while Marlo's on maternity leave, then we'd be out of your hair. Stay with me, in my house, my sanctuary. Every instinct screamed no, but this was my daughter, my grandchild. Of course, I heard myself say, stay as long as you need. I signed away my piece that afternoon. I just didn't know it yet. The lawyer, Mrs. Chen, recommended me to later would ask why I agreed so quickly. My best friend would say I should have known better. But here's the truth. When you love someone, you don't see the trap. You just see the chance to help. And by the time you realize you're caught, it's already too late. What happened next broke me in ways I'm still healing from. But before I tell you, I need you to understand something. If you think what Griffin did was wrong, if you believe mothers deserve respect and families should protect each other, not destroy each other, hit that subscribe button right now. Click that like button. Because what I'm about to tell you gets so much darker, so much worse than you're imagining. And I need you on my side for what comes next. Drop a comment if you've ever been betrayed by family. If someone you loved and trusted turned out to be someone completely different. Because misery loves company, and trust me, by the end of this story, you'll understand why I did what I did. Now, where was I? Oh yes, the day they moved in. They arrived on a Saturday morning with a U-Haul truck and enough belongings to fill my entire house. Just the essentials, Griffin had said on the phone. The essentials included a king-size bed, 2 couches, a 70-inch television, boxes and boxes of clothes, kitchen equipment, and furniture that made my modest home look like a storage unit. Where should we put this? The mover asked, holding my grandmother's antique chair. Oh, we'll need to move that, Griffin said before I could answer. It doesn't match our aesthetic. Our aesthetic. In my house. Maybe we could put it in the garage temporarily? Marlo suggested, not meeting my eyes. My grandmother's chair. The one I'd refinished with my own hands, the one that had sat by my fireplace for 30 years. Sure, I said quietly. Temporarily. That word became a lie very quickly. Within a week, my house didn't feel like mine anymore. Griffin rearranged the living room without asking, put his giant TV where my bookshelf had been, moved my late husband's piano into my bedroom to make space. Mum, you don't mind, right? Marlo asked one evening. Her hand rested on her barely visible baby bump. Griffin just wants us to feel settled before the baby comes. Mind? Of course I minded. But she looked so tired, so worn down. How could I add to her stress? It's fine, honey, I lied. The small disrespects started immediately. Griffin would walk past me without acknowledging my presence, leave his dishes in the sink for me to clean, blast his music late at night despite knowing I had trouble sleeping, take over my favorite chair in the living room. When I'd cook dinner, meals I'd spent hours preparing, he'd eat in silence, scrolling through his phone, never saying thank you. "Babe, put your phone away," Marlowe would whisper. "I'm working," he'd snap. Then softer. "Sorry, Mom. Big account. You understand?" I'd nod, force a smile, pretend his dismissiveness didn't sting. But the worst part? Watching Marlowe shrink. My vibrant, confident daughter became quieter every day. She'd start to tell me about her day, and Griffin would interrupt. She'd suggest something, and he'd shoot it down. She'd laugh at something on TV, and he'd tell her it wasn't funny. "Pregnancy hormones," he'd explain to me, like she wasn't sitting right there. "Makes her emotional, a little irrational." Marlowe would look down at her hands, say nothing. One night, I heard crying from their room. Soft, muffled sobs. I stood outside their door, hand raised to knock. "Stop being dramatic," Griffin's voice said through the door. "I'm not angry. I'm disappointed. There's a difference." My hand dropped. I walked away. I should have knocked. Should have asked if she was okay. Should have done something. But she was married now. This was between them. I couldn't interfere. I was wrong. So wrong. I wanted to say something. I should have said something. But she was my daughter's husband, and I didn't want to be the difficult mother-in-law. I didn't want to add stress to Marlowe's pregnancy. I didn't want to cause problems. Tell me in the comments, was I wrong to stay quiet? Would you have spoken up right away? Or would you have done what I did and swallowed your pride, hoping things would get better on their own? I thought that was the worst of it. Small disrespects I could handle. Little comments I could ignore. My daughter was having my grandchild. I could endure anything for that. I was wrong. So completely, devastatingly wrong. Because what happened next crossed a line I didn't even know existed. The financial demands started small. "Mum, could you cover groceries this week?" Griffin's paycheck got delayed. "Mum, the car needs new tires. Could you help us out?" "Mum, we need to buy nursery furniture. Just a loan. We'll pay you back." 500 here, 1,000 there, 2,000 for the nursery. Another 1,500 for medical bills insurance didn't cover. I stopped keeping track after $10,000. Money I'd been saving for retirement, for emergencies, for my future. "You're so generous," Griffin would say, never quite meeting my eyes. "We'll pay you back as soon as my bonus comes through." The bonus never came. The payback never happened. Then my belongings started disappearing. My mother's china, the set I'd protected through 40 years of marriage, 2 moves, and countless holidays. Gone. "It was just taking up space," Griffin explained when I finally asked. "We donated it." "You weren't using it anyway." "Weren't using it. I used it every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, every special occasion for 4 decades. "But," I started. "Mum, we needed the cabinet space for baby supplies," Marlowe said quickly. Her eyes looked hollow, exhausted. "I'm sorry. I should have asked first." She should have, but she didn't. My photo albums disappeared next. My wedding pictures. Photos of Marlowe as a baby. 40 years of memories. "We're digitizing everything," Griffin said. "More practical. Taking up less space." I never saw the digital copies. Never saw the albums again. But the worst violation came 3 months after they'd moved in. I came home from the library to find my bedroom rearranged. My late husband's clothes, the ones I'd kept in the closet because his scent still lingered, were gone. His piano, which I'd moved to my room, had been pushed into the garage. We needed more storage space, Griffin explained when I confronted him. My voice had actually been shaking. Those clothes were just mothbait anyway. I took them to Goodwill. "You went through my bedroom?" I whispered, without asking. "It's not like you need all that space, Margaret." The way he said my name, cold, dismissive. And honestly, keeping a dead man's clothes for 12 years is a little unhealthy. "Marlo was worried about you." I looked at my daughter. She was staring at the floor. "Marlo?" My voice cracked. "You thought this was okay?" She opened her mouth, closed it. "I just... Griffin said..." "Griffin said," I repeated. "And what do you say?" Silence. Griffin stepped between us. "Let's not upset the pregnant lady, okay? This kind of stress isn't good for the baby." He walked away. Marlo followed. I stood alone in my violated bedroom and realized something terrifying. My own daughter wouldn't stand up for me, wouldn't defend me, wouldn't even meet my eyes. She'd chosen him, over me, over herself, over everything we'd been, and there was nothing I could do about it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the empty closet where Raymond's shirts had hung. I remembered the night I'd sold my anniversary ring to help pay for Marlo's college. 3-carat diamond, platinum band. Raymond had saved for 2 years to buy it for our 25th anniversary. "Mum, you don't have to do this," Marlo had said, tears streaming down her face. "I want to," I'd whispered. "Your education is worth more than any ring. You're going to do amazing things." She'd hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "I love you, Mum. I'll make you proud. I promise." Now, as I stood in that empty closet, running my hand over the space where his jackets had been, I wondered, did she remember? Did any of it matter? Had I raised a daughter who valued me, or just what I could give her? My chest ached. Not metaphorically. Physically ached, like my heart was trying to escape my ribs. I'd lost 8 pounds in 3 months, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't recognize myself in the mirror. The woman staring back looked hollow, defeated, broken, and I was too tired to fight anymore. But I didn't know the worst was still ahead of me. What I discovered next, what I found hidden in plain sight in my own home, would shatter every illusion I had left. And it would finally give me the evidence I needed to understand. This wasn't love. This was a long con, and I was the mark. Every morning, I woke up in my own bed, in my own house, and felt like a stranger. Every morning, I heard them laughing downstairs in what used to be my kitchen. Every morning, I asked myself, how much longer can I do this? The isolation happened slowly. So slowly I didn't notice until it was complete. Griffin didn't like my friends visiting. "The house is such a mess with all the baby prep," he'd say. "Maybe wait until after the baby's born?" My book club stopped inviting me. "We figured you were too busy," they said when I finally called. Mrs. Chen from next door tried to check on me. Griffin answered the door. "She's resting. Doctor's orders. The stress of having us here has been hard on her health." He said it with such concern, such fake worry. Mrs. Chen's eyes met mine over his shoulder. I saw the question there. I looked away. She tried twice more. Both times, Griffin turned her away. The third time, she stopped coming. My Sunday calls with Marlo disappeared. "We're in the same house, Mum. We don't need to schedule calls anymore," she'd said. Except we never talked. Not really. Griffin was always there, always listening, always controlling the conversation. I felt myself disappearing, bit by bit, day by day. The final humiliation came at Marlowe's baby shower. They hosted it at my house, with my money, invited their friends, people I'd never met. I'd spent the morning preparing food, homemade quiche, fruit salads, pastries, hours of work. "Oh, you cooked," one of Marlowe's friends said, looking at my spread. "How quaint. We actually ordered from that new catering place. But thanks anyway, Mrs. Pemberton." My food sat untouched while they ate catered sandwiches. I sat in the corner of my own living room, watching strangers celebrate my daughter's pregnancy, and realized I wasn't the grandmother-to-be being honored. I was the help being tolerated. When Griffin gave his speech thanking everyone for coming, he mentioned their parents, their friends, their support system. He didn't mention me once. I left my own living room and cried in my bedroom. No one noticed. But someone did see. Someone I didn't expect. Mrs. Chen had apparently convinced the caterer to let her in to drop off extra plates. She found me sitting on my bed, mascara running down my face, trying to muffle my sobs. She didn't say anything at first, just sat beside me and held my hand. Finally, she whispered, "How long has this been happening?" I couldn't answer. If I said it out loud, it became real. "Margaret," she said firmly, "you're being abused. You know that, right?" Abused. The word felt wrong. Abuse was hitting, yelling, violence. This was just family dynamics. Griffin was stressed. Marlowe was pregnant. I was being too sensitive. "I'm fine," I whispered. Mrs. Chen pulled a business card from her purse. Attorney Larissa Martinez, Elder Law and Family Protection. "When you're ready to stop being fine," she said, tucking it into my hand, "call her. Promise me." I nodded, not meaning it. I put the card in my nightstand drawer and forgot about it. For 2 weeks, I forgot about it. Until the day I found the emails. I'm not proud of how long I stayed quiet. How much I took. How many times I smiled and pretended everything was okay when I was dying inside. If you're judging me right now, I get it. I judged myself too. For months. I looked in the mirror and hated the weak, pathetic woman staring back at me. But here's what I've learned. It's easy to judge from the outside. It's harder when it's your daughter, your grandchild, your family. Drop a comment if you've ever stayed too long in a bad situation, a job, a relationship, a living arrangement. Let's stop pretending we're all perfect. None of us are. Then something happened that shattered my denial forever. What I found hidden on that laptop, sitting open in my own kitchen at 2 a.m, made my blood run cold. Every lie, every manipulation, every cruel comment suddenly made horrifying sense. This hadn't been a mistake. This hadn't been stress or personality clashes or misunderstandings. This had been a plan. From the very beginning. And my daughter? She might not have known. But my future son-in-law? He'd orchestrated everything. I couldn't sleep. Again. Insomnia had become my constant companion. I'd lie awake listening to my own house. The creaks and settling that used to comfort me now felt foreign, hostile. At 2 a.m, I gave up and went downstairs for water. Griffin's laptop sat open on my kitchen counter. The screen glowed in the darkness. I shouldn't have looked. I know that. Invasion of privacy. Wrong on every level. But my hand moved before my brain could stop it. The email application was open. His personal account, not work. The subject line of the top email caught my eye. Update on the M project. M project? I clicked. The old lady signed over power of attorney last week, told you it would be easy. Another month, maybe two, and we'll have full control of the accounts. Then we start the transfer process. She's so desperate to be needed, she doesn't even ask questions. Mark's completely convinced she's just being a good grandmother. This is going even smoother than the last one. My hands started shaking. The last one? I scrolled down. Found another email. This one from 6 months before the wedding, before he'd even proposed to Marlo. Found the perfect target. Daughter's name is Marlo, 28, graphic designer. But here's the gold mine. Her mother owns her house outright in Austin. Paid off. Worth at least $400K based on property records. She's been widowed for 12 years, no other kids, completely devoted to the daughter. This is going to be even easier than the California job. Target, property records, California job. I couldn't breathe. The kitchen tilted. I scrolled faster. Dozens of emails, maybe hundreds. A trail of calculation going back 2 years. Met Marlo today. She's perfect. Daddy issues. Desperate to please. Completely oblivious. Mentioned her mom within 10 minutes. Showed me photos. Described their close relationship. This is going to work. Proposed last night. She cried. So did the mom on the phone. They're both so easy to manipulate. Give them a little attention and they'll give you everything. Wedding was perfect. Got 10K from the mom as a gift. Didn't even have to ask. Just mentioned starting our life debt-free. And she offered. Mark how these people just hand over money. Moving in with the mom next month. Convinced Marlo it's about being close to family for the baby. Really, it's about establishing residency and getting power of attorney. The pregnancy was an accident, but it's actually perfect timing. Pregnant women don't think clearly, and it gives me leverage with the mum. My stomach lurched. I ran to the sink, certain I'd be sick. The pregnancy, my grandchild, was an accident he was using as leverage. I found another email. This one sent just 3 days ago. Margaret's starting to ask questions about the money. Need to speed things up. How soon can we get her declared incompetent? That's the fastest route to full control, right? Once we have her accounts, we can dump her in a nursing home and sell the house. Split should be around $200K each after expenses. Not bad for 8 months of work. $200,000 each. After expenses. 8 months of work. I slid to the kitchen floor. My chest heaved, but no sound came out. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Couldn't process what I was reading. Every gift I'd given. Every meal I'd cooked. Every time I'd bitten my tongue and smiled, it was all part of a con. He'd never loved Marlo. He'd never wanted family. He wanted my money, my house, my life. And once he had it, he was going to put me in a home and disappear. But Marlo... Oh, God. Marlo. Did she know? My hands trembled as I searched for her name in his emails. There. A message to someone named Derek from 2 weeks ago. Marlo's asking why her mum seems so sad. Had to convince her that her mum's just getting older, more depressed. She's buying it for now, but she's not as stupid as I thought. Need to isolate them more. Less time alone together. More evidence of the mum's declining mental state. Another email, this one older. Marlo doesn't know anything. She actually thinks we're here to help her mum. Thinks her mum is lonely, and we're doing her a favor by staying. The guilt she feels about abandoning her mum makes this so much easier. She'll believe anything I say because she wants to be a good daughter. My daughter didn't know. Relief and horror hit me simultaneously. She didn't know. She was a victim too. He'd manipulated her, used her love for me against both of us. But then I found another message, more recent, from last week. Marlo found some bank statements, saw how much we've taken, She confronted me last night, had to do damage control, told her that her mum offered all of it, that her mum is getting confused about money, that this is early dementia and we need to protect her before she gives money to scammers. She's upset, but she's believing me. For now. I read it again and again. She knew we'd taken money. She'd confronted him, and she'd believed his lies about my mental health. My own daughter thought I was losing my mind. The betrayal cut deeper than anything Griffin had done. He was a stranger, a con artist, a criminal. But Marlo was my daughter, and she'd chosen to believe I was incompetent rather than believe he was a liar. That hurt worse than anything. I sat on that kitchen floor for over an hour, just sat there, tears running down my face, phone in one hand, his laptop in the other. I thought about calling the police. But what would I say? My son-in-law sent mean emails. They'd need evidence of actual crimes, fraud, theft. More than just ugly words. I thought about confronting him, screaming, demanding he leave. But he had power of attorney now. Somehow, without me fully understanding it, I'd signed papers giving him legal authority. A thought crystallized in my mind, cold and clear. They didn't break my heart. They revealed I never had theirs. And that's when the crying stopped. Now I know what some of you are thinking. It's your daughter. Family is family. Work it out. Forgive and move on. But tell me this. When does family become predators? When does love turn into exploitation? At what point is enough actually enough? Is it when they steal from you? When they lie to you? When they gaslight you into thinking you're losing your mind? When they plot to take everything you've spent a lifetime building? Or do you just keep taking it because family? I need you to drop your answer in the comments because I need to know I'm not crazy for what I did next. Because what I planned, what I spent the next 3 weeks carefully, methodically setting up. Some people would call revenge, but I call it justice. And there's a difference. I took photos of everything, every email, every message, every calculation of my net worth and their planned split. Then I cleared the browser history, closed the laptop, wiped down the counter like I'd never been there. And I went back to my room, not to cry, not to sleep, but to plan. By sunrise, I'd made 3 phone calls. Mrs. Chen's lawyer, my bank, and the Adult Protective Services hotline. By the end of the week, Griffin Kendrick was going to realize he'd made a fatal mistake. You don't con a grandmother who has nothing left to lose. You just don't. The next morning, I made them breakfast. Pancakes, bacon, fresh orange juice. Their favorites. What's the occasion? Griffin asked, suspicious. Just felt like cooking, I said sweetly. It's a beautiful day. Marlo looked confused but grateful. Thanks, Mom. This is really nice. I smiled, poured coffee, watched him eat food I'd prepared while knowing exactly what he was planning to do to me. The power of knowing is incredible. It changes everything. After they left, Griffin to work, Marlo to a prenatal appointment, I called Attorney Martinez. She could see me that afternoon. Her office was in a modern building downtown. She was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with sharp eyes and an even sharper handshake. Mrs. Chen said you needed help, she said, gesturing to a chair. Tell me everything. I did. All of it. The money, the manipulation, the emails. I showed her the photos on my phone. She read in silence. Her expression darkened with each screenshot. Finally, she looked up. Mrs. Pemberton, what you're describing is elder financial abuse. That's a felony in Texas. And the power of attorney, if you signed it under false pretenses or manipulation, we can revoke it immediately. Can we? My voice cracked with hope. We can do better than that. She pulled out a legal pad. We can build a case that will not only protect you, but ensure he faces criminal prosecution. But I need you to follow my instructions exactly. Can you do that? I nodded. First, we document everything. Every financial transaction. Every lie he's told. Every form of manipulation. Second, we get you a medical evaluation proving cognitive competence. Undermines his dementia claims. Third, we install security cameras in your home to record interactions. Fourth, we freeze accounts he has access to. And fifth, she paused. Fifth, we let him keep digging his own grave. Let him think he's getting away with it while we build an airtight case. How long? I asked. 3 weeks, maybe 4. Can you handle staying in that house, pretending everything's normal while we work? I thought about my daughter, my grandchild, my home. I can handle anything, I said, if it means stopping him. Good. She smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. It was a warrior's smile. Let's destroy him legally, the right way, the way he'll never recover from. The next 3 weeks were the hardest of my life. Every morning, I woke up and played the role of confused, compliant grandmother. I let Griffin help me with my banking, let him talk down to me. Let him make decisions for my own good. And I documented everything. Mrs. Chen helped me install tiny cameras, one in the living room, one in the kitchen, one in the hallway. All perfectly legal in Texas as long as it's your own home. Those cameras caught everything. Griffin on the phone. She signed over another $10,000 yesterday. Didn't even read the transfer form. I told you she's declining. This is almost too easy. Griffin to Marlo. Your mum forgot we already paid her back. She asked again. This is the 3rd time this week. I think we need to start looking at memory care facilities. Griffin to his partner Derek, who visited one afternoon. 6 more weeks, Max. Then we file for conservatorship, claim she's incompetent, and move her out. The house goes on the market by Christmas. Every word recorded. Every lie captured. Every crime documented. I met with Attorney Martinez twice a week. We built the case like a puzzle. Bank records showing unauthorized withdrawals, $47,000 over 8 months. The power of attorney document, signed under duress and false pretenses. He claimed it was just for emergency medical decisions. Medical evaluation from my doctor. Margaret Pemberton shows no signs of cognitive decline, dementia, or incompetence. She is of sound mind and body. Character witnesses lined up. Mrs. Chen, my book club friends, my librarian colleagues, all ready to testify about my mental sharpness and his manipulation. And then there were the emails, the smoking gun, the proof that this was premeditated elder abuse. We have enough, Martinez told me during our final meeting. More than enough. Are you ready? Ready to blow up my daughter's marriage? Ready to face Griffin in court? Ready to risk Marlo hating me forever? Yes, I said. Do it. She made 3 phone calls while I sat there. 1 to Adult Protective Services. I'm reporting elder financial abuse with documented evidence. 1 to the district attorney. I have a case you'll want to prosecute. Elder fraud, forgery, multiple felonies. 1 to the police. I'm filing formal charges against Griffin Kendrick for theft, fraud, and elder abuse. They'll serve him with a temporary restraining order tomorrow, Martinez explained. He'll be forced to leave your home immediately. We've frozen all accounts he has access to, and next week you'll file for emergency revocation of power of attorney. Are you prepared for the fallout? The fallout. Marlo would be devastated, confused, angry, but alive, safe, free from a man who'd targeted both of us. "I'm prepared," I said. I wasn't. But here's what I was. Done being a victim, done being manipulated, done choosing peace over protecting myself. I didn't raise my voice. I raised the stakes. You probably think you know what happened next. Big courtroom drama, right? Explosive confrontation? Cops showing up? But here's the thing. I learned patience from years of being underestimated, and what I'd planned was so much smarter, so much more devastating than anything you're imagining. Drop your prediction in the comments. Let's see if anyone gets close. Because the next morning, when Griffin woke up thinking it was just another day of conning a helpless old woman, he had no idea his entire world was about to collapse. And I had front row seats. Friday morning, November 3rd, the day everything changed. I woke up at 5 a.m., made coffee. Packed a bag with everything that mattered. Photo albums, important documents, my mother's jewelry, my grandmother's Bible. By 6 a.m., I was at Mrs. Chen's house. "You're sure about this?" she asked, squeezing my hand. I've never been more sure of anything. At 8 a.m., 2 police officers arrived at my house. I watched from Mrs. Chen's window as they knocked on the door. Griffin answered in his bathrobe, annoyed. His expression shifted from irritation to confusion to fear in about 10 seconds. I couldn't hear the conversation, but I saw him step back, saw the papers being handed to him, saw him read them: emergency protective order, immediate eviction, restraining order, criminal investigation pending. His face went white. Marlo appeared behind him. Even from across the street, I could see her confusion. Her mouth moved, questions I couldn't hear. Griffin showed her the papers. She looked at them, then at him, then toward Mrs. Chen's house, like she knew somehow that I was watching. The police waited while they packed. They had 2 hours to gather essentials and leave. Everything else would be collected later under supervision. I watched my daughter move through my house like a ghost. Watched her pause at the guest room that used to be hers. Watched her touch the kitchen counter where we'd baked cookies when she was small. Watched her cry. God, that hurt. Watching her cry hurt worse than anything Griffin had done to me. But I held firm. This wasn't cruelty. This was survival. At 10 a.m., they left. 2 suitcases each. Griffin's face was red with rage. Marlo looked broken. She stopped on the sidewalk, looked directly at Mrs. Chen's window where I stood. Our eyes met. She mouthed something. I couldn't tell if it was "why" or "mom" or "how could you." Then Griffin pulled her toward the car, and they drove away. I stood at that window for another 20 minutes. Just stood there, shaking. "It's done," Mrs. Chen said softly. "You're safe now." Safe? Yes. But was I okay? That was a different question entirely. At noon, Attorney Martinez called. "You can go home now. I'll meet you there in 30 minutes. We need to go through next steps." Home. The word felt foreign. I walked across the street slowly. Mrs. Chen came with me, hand on my elbow like I might fall. The front door was unlocked. They'd left in such a hurry. The house looked like a crime scene. Drawers open, closet doors hanging. Things scattered everywhere in their rush to pack. But it was quiet. Blessedly quiet. I walked through each room, touched the walls, the furniture, my things that were finally mine again. In the kitchen, I found a note on the counter. Marlo's handwriting. "Mum, I don't understand what's happening. Griffin says this is all a misunderstanding, that you're confused and scared and lashing out. Please call me, please. We can fix this. I love you. M." I read it 3 times. She still didn't believe him capable of this. Still thought I was the confused one. That hurt worse than the eviction, worse than the theft, worse than everything. My own daughter thought I was the villain in this story. Attorney Martinez arrived with a locksmith. We're changing all the locks, today, right now. He had keys, which means he could come back. While the locksmith worked, Martinez spread documents across my dining room table. Next week, we file formal charges: theft, fraud, forgery, elder abuse. The DA is already interested. Apparently, they've been trying to build a case against him for months. You're not his first victim, Margaret. There are 2 others in California and 1 in Oklahoma. You're the first one brave enough to press charges. Not his first victim. 3 other women. 3 other families destroyed by this man. And my daughter had almost become number 4. That evening, my phone rang. Marlo. I stared at her name on the screen for 5 rings before answering. Mum? Her voice was thick with tears. Mum, what is happening? Why did you do this to us? Us. Like she and Griffin were a unit. Like I was the outsider. Marlo? He told me everything, she interrupted. About the restraining order. About the charges you're filing. Mom. He's devastated. We both are. We thought you wanted us here. You said we could stay as long as we needed. Honey, I need you to listen. No, you listen. She was crying hard now. You're ruining my marriage. You're stressing me out during my pregnancy. The police said you're accusing Griffin of elder abuse, of theft. Mom, we borrowed money that you offered. You're making it sound like we're criminals. Marlo, he is a criminal. I have proof. Proof of what? That we're struggling financially. That we needed help. You're the one who kept offering. You're the one who said family helps family. My chest tightened. Did Griffin tell you why I really filed the restraining order? Silence. Then, he said you're having memory problems, that you've been confused and paranoid. That you're forgetting conversations and accusing him of things that never happened. There it was. His final manipulation. Painting me as senile. Marlo, I'm going to send you something. Documents, emails, evidence. Will you look at them, please? Evidence of what? Of who he really is, of what he's been planning, of how he's been using both of us. Mum, stop. Just stop. You're scaring me. This isn't you. You're not vindictive like this. You're not cruel. Something's wrong and you need help. I'm not the one who needs help. I have to go. Griffin's upset, and I need to take care of my husband. When you're ready to apologize and get the help you need, call me. Until then, I can't talk to you. The line went dead. I sat there holding the phone, listening to the silence, and felt my heart crack a little more. My daughter had chosen him, even now, even after everything. She'd chosen him. That night was the longest of my life. I lay in bed, my own bed, in my own room, in my own house, and felt more alone than I'd ever been. Not when Raymond died. Not during the cancer treatments. Not in any of the hard years. This was different. This was my child rejecting me, choosing to believe I was mentally ill rather than believe her husband was a con artist. I looked at my phone. 23 texts from Marlo over the past 3 hours, each one more desperate. Mum, please talk to me. Griffin says you're having a breakdown. Mum, I'm scared for you. Why are you doing this to us? I can't believe you'd destroy my family like this. You're going to make me lose my baby from stress. I hope you're happy. That last one broke me. I hope you're happy. I wasn't happy. I was destroyed. I'd just blown up my daughter's life to save her, and she hated me for it. Maybe Griffin was right. Maybe I should have just stayed quiet, accepted the abuse, let them take everything. At least then I'd still have my daughter. But no. That was the abuse talking, the manipulation, the gaslighting that made you question your own sanity. I'd done the right thing. It just didn't feel right yet. Mrs. Chen came over the next morning, found me still in bed, phone clutched in my hand, Marlowe's texts unanswered. She didn't say anything, just made tea, opened the curtains, sat on the edge of my bed. "My daughter hates me," I whispered. "Your daughter is confused. There's a difference. She thinks I'm crazy. She thinks I'm destroying her family." "Margaret, look at me." Mrs. Chen's voice was firm. "You didn't destroy her family. He did. You just exposed it. And yes, right now she's angry. She's in denial. She's protecting herself from a truth that's too painful to accept. But one day, maybe not soon, but one day, she'll understand what you did. She'll understand you saved her." "What if she never understands? What if I lose her forever?" Mrs. Chen squeezed my hand. "Then you'll have lost her protecting her. That's what mothers do. We take the hit so our children don't have to, even when they hate us for it, even when it breaks our hearts. That's love, Margaret. Real love. Not the kind that keeps peace at any cost. The kind that fights battles our children don't even know they're in." I cried then. Let myself fully break down in a way I hadn't since this started, and she held me while I did. 3 days passed. No word from Marlowe. No calls, no texts. I sent her the evidence anyway. Every screenshot, every email, every documented lie. She didn't respond. But on day 4, my phone rang at 2 a.m. "Mum?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Mum, I need you to tell me this isn't real. Please tell me you faked these emails." My heart stopped. "Marlowe? I need you to tell me you made this up, that you hired someone to fake these messages, because if they're real—" Her voice broke. "If they're real, then my entire marriage is a lie. My baby's father is a monster, and I've been so horrible to you. Honey, where are you?" "A hotel." I left. I confronted him about the emails and She was crying so hard she could barely speak. "He didn't deny it, Mom. He didn't even try. He just got angry and said it didn't matter because we're married now and the baby is coming and I can't prove anything. And then he said—" She sobbed. "He said you were right to throw us out because he was getting tired of pretending to care about you anyway." Oh, God. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You tried to tell me and I didn't listen. You were protecting me and I called you crazy. I chose him over you, over us. I was so stupid. I was so—" "Marlowe, stop. Listen to me. You're not stupid. You're a victim. He manipulated you just like he manipulated me. This isn't your fault." "But I should have seen it. I should have known. You're my mum, and I didn't believe you." "Because he's a professional liar. Because that's what con artists do. They make you doubt the people who love you most. But you see it now. That's what matters. You see it now." Silence, except for her crying. "Can I come home?" she finally asked, voice small. "I know I don't deserve to. I know I was awful. But I don't have anywhere else to go, and I'm scared, and I need my mum. I need my mum." 4 words I'd been waiting to hear for 8 months. "Of course you can come home. Right now. Give me your address. I'm coming to get you." "You'd do that? After everything I said?" "Marlowe, you're my daughter. You could say 1,000 horrible things, and I'd still come get you. That's what mothers do. We always come when our children call. Always." 20 minutes later, I was pulling up to a Holiday Inn, and my daughter was walking toward my car, suitcase in hand, 7 months pregnant, and looking exactly like she did when she was a little girl who'd had a nightmare and needed her mum to make it better. I opened the car door. She collapsed into my arms, and we both cried. We sat in that parking lot for an hour. She told me everything. How Griffin had been monitoring her phone, reading her texts, checking her emails. How he'd isolated her from her friends, claiming they were bad influences or jealous of our happiness. How he controlled their money. She had no access to their bank accounts, had to ask permission to buy anything, even groceries. How he'd started getting angry, not hitting, never hitting, but the rage was there, simmering under the surface. The way he'd slam doors, punch walls, break things when he was upset. "I was scared, Mom," she whispered. I was scared, but I told myself it was just stress, just the pressure of the baby coming, that he'd get better once things settled down. "Did he ever hurt you?" I asked, holding my breath. "No, not physically, but the things he'd say." She looked down at her hands. "He'd tell me I was lucky he married me, that no one else would want me, that I was gaining too much weight with the pregnancy and I was getting ugly, that you'd turned me into a weak, needy woman and he was trying to fix me." Every word was a knife to my heart. "He made me feel crazy," she continued. "I'd remember conversations one way, and he'd swear they happened differently. I'd think we'd agreed on something, and he'd say I was confused. I started recording conversations on my phone because I didn't trust my own memory anymore." "You recorded him?" She nodded. "I have recordings of him talking to Derek, about the money, about the plan, about how stupid we both were." She pulled out her phone. "Do you want to hear?" I did. She played one. Griffin's voice. The old bat actually believed I loved her precious daughter, like I'd marry someone that ordinary without a reason. But her mum's house? That 400K property? Worth it. Few more months of pretending to be a doting husband, and we're set. Derek's voice. "What about the baby?" Griffin. "What about it? Kids are expensive. We'll probably give it up for adoption. More money that way. Marlo will cry about it, but she'll get over it. She gets over everything." My grandson. He was planning to give away my grandson. Marlo was sobbing. "He doesn't even want our baby, Mum. He never did. I'm carrying a child he sees as an inconvenience, as a transaction." I held her tighter. "We're going to stop him," I said. "Together. We're going to make sure he never hurts anyone ever again." The next morning, Marlo and I met with Attorney Martinez together. "This changes everything," Martinez said, listening to Marlo's recordings. "With your testimony and evidence, we can add coercion, manipulation, and fraud to the charges. The DA is going to love this." "What happens now?" Marlo asked. "Now we file an amended complaint. We document everything, not just the financial abuse against your mother, but the psychological abuse against you. And we prepare for trial. Griffin's lawyer will try to negotiate a plea deal, but with this much evidence, we're pushing for the maximum sentence." "How long could he get?" I asked. "Elder abuse alone is 2 to 10 years in Texas. Add fraud, forgery, theft, and now coercion and intimidation of a pregnant woman. We're looking at potentially 15 to 20 years. And that's before the California and Oklahoma cases catch up with him. 15 to 20 years. My daughter's baby would grow up without a father." "Is it wrong that I hope he gets every single year?" Marlo asked quietly. Martinez smiled. Not kindly, victoriously. "It's not wrong. It's justice. Over the next week, we built our case like a fortress. Every email, every recording, every witness statement, every bank record. By the time we were done, we had a 3-inch binder of evidence. "This is one of the most solid elder abuse cases I've ever seen," Martinez said. "He's done." We filed formal charges on a Monday. By Tuesday, the DA had issued an arrest warrant. By Wednesday morning, Griffin Kendrick was in handcuffs. And by Thursday, it was all over the local news. Austin investment banker arrested for elaborate elder fraud scheme. The news called him a predator who targeted elderly women and their families in a multi-state con operation. They weren't wrong. You know that moment when the truth finally comes out? When liars get caught and there's nowhere left to hide? When karma stops being a concept and becomes a handcuffed man being perp-walked into a police station? That's where we were. And I'm not going to lie. Watching him on the news, seeing his mugshot, knowing he couldn't hurt anyone else, it felt good. Tell me in the comments, is that wrong? Am I supposed to feel bad about enjoying his downfall? About feeling satisfaction when someone who hurt me faces consequences? Because I don't, not even a little bit. The trial was set for 8 weeks later. Griffin made bail, $50,000 his brother posted, but the judge imposed strict conditions: no contact with Marlowe or me, no leaving Travis County, electronic monitoring. He hired an expensive defense attorney, some hotshot from Dallas who specialized in misunderstanding cases. "He's going to try to paint you both as vindictive women scorned," Martinez warned us. "He'll claim the relationship soured and you're using the legal system for revenge. He'll say every financial transaction was a gift. He'll say you're lying about the abuse. Are you prepared for that?" I looked at Marlowe. She was 8 months pregnant now. Huge belly, swollen ankles, exhausted, but her eyes were steel. "Let him try," she said. The courtroom was packed the day of the trial. Local news cameras. Support from the elder abuse advocacy group Martinez had connected us with. Mrs. Chen and her family. My book club. Even some of Marlowe's friends who'd finally heard the full story. Griffin sat at the defense table in an expensive suit, looking calm and confident. Like this was just a minor inconvenience. Like he'd already won. Judge Patricia Reeves entered. She was in her 60s, silver-haired, with the no-nonsense expression of someone who'd seen everything and believed nothing. "This is a criminal trial for elder abuse, fraud, forgery, and theft," she began. "The state of Texas versus Griffin Michael Kendrick. Are both parties ready?" The DA stood. Young woman, fierce eyes, ready for battle. "The state is ready, Your Honor." Griffin's attorney stood. Smug smile, expensive watch. "The defense is ready." "Very well." Opening statements. The DA approached the jury. "Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to hear a story about a predator. A man who didn't use violence or weapons, but something more insidious: trust. He found vulnerable women, befriended their families, and systematically destroyed their lives for profit. Margaret Pemberton is his 4th victim, but she's the first one brave enough to stop him, and the evidence you'll see will prove, beyond any doubt, that Griffin Kendrick is guilty." Griffin's attorney stood. "Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to hear a story about a family dispute. Nothing more. My client fell in love, got married, started a family. His mother-in-law generously helped them financially, as many parents do. But when the relationship soured, she weaponized the legal system. This is revenge dressed up as justice. And by the end of this trial, you'll see that my client is innocent." Judge Reeves looked at the DA. "Call your first witness." "The state calls Margaret Pemberton." I walked to the witness stand on shaking legs, placed my hand on the Bible, swore to tell the truth. The DA smiled at me, encouraging. Mrs. Pemberton, can you tell the jury how you met Griffin Kendrick? I told them. About Marlowe's excitement, the engagement, the wedding, how much I'd liked him at first. When did things change? When they moved into my home. That's when the manipulation started. Can you explain what you mean by manipulation? Objection. Griffin's attorney jumped up. Speculation. The witness isn't qualified to diagnose manipulation. I'll rephrase, the DA said smoothly. Mrs. Pemberton, can you describe specific behaviors that concerned you? I did. The dismissiveness, the isolation tactics, the financial demands, the disappearing belongings, each incident documented with dates and details. Did you give money to Mr. Kendrick willingly? At first, I thought I was helping. He said they needed it temporarily, that they'd pay me back. But later I discovered it was never temporary. It was always the plan. How did you discover this? I told them about the emails, about the laptop, about the shock of reading his words. The DA pulled up the emails on a screen for the jury. Let them read Griffin's own words. The old lady is so desperate to be needed, she doesn't even ask questions, the DA read aloud. This is going smoother than the last one. Mrs. Pemberton, what did that mean to you? That I wasn't a person to him. I was a target, a mark, someone to be used and discarded. Objection! Griffin's attorney stood. The witness is testifying to her interpretation of statements taken out of context. Your Honor, these are the defendant's own words, the DA countered. The witness is entitled to explain how they affected her. Overruled. Continue. The DA showed more emails, each one worse than the last. The jury's expressions shifted from neutral to disturbed. Then came the most damning one. Once we have her declared incompetent and get her into a nursing home, we sell the house and split the proceeds. $200,000 each for 8 months of work. The courtroom went silent. Mrs. Pemberton, the DA said gently, when you read that email, what went through your mind? My voice shook. That he was going to take everything. My home, my money, my freedom. That he was going to lock me away and steal my life, and that my daughter, my precious daughter, was married to a man who saw us both as nothing more than paychecks. No further questions. Griffin's attorney stood. Time for cross-examination. Mrs. Pemberton, isn't it true that you've always been overprotective of your daughter? I don't think so. Isn't it true that you didn't want her to get married? No. I was happy she found love, or what I thought was love. Isn't it true that when your daughter chose to move forward with her marriage and her life, you felt abandoned? I saw where he was going, making me look like a jealous mother who couldn't let go. No, I said firmly. I felt happy for her, until I realized the man she married was a criminal. Objection. Non-responsive. Sustained. Mrs. Pemberton, please answer only the question asked. The attorney circled. These emails you claim to have found, isn't it convenient that you just happened to stumble upon them at 2 a.m.? I couldn't sleep. I went downstairs. His laptop was open. So you invaded his privacy? Accessed his personal emails without permission? In my own home? Yes. And you expect this jury to believe these emails are real? That they weren't manipulated or taken out of context? They can ask him, I said, looking directly at Griffin. Under oath, let him deny his own words. Griffin's face reddened. His attorney moved on quickly. trying to paint me as confused, forgetful, maybe mentally unwell. But I was ready. For every question, I had documented proof. Medical records showing cognitive health, bank statements showing unauthorized withdrawals, witness testimony about his behavior. By the time I stepped down, I could see it in the jury's faces. They believed me. The state calls Marlo Kendrick. My daughter walked to the stand, 8 months pregnant, vulnerable, brave. Griffin leaned forward. His expression, I couldn't read it. Anger? Fear? Calculation? Mrs. Kendrick, you're the defendant's wife, correct? Yes. Her voice was steady. Did you know about your husband's plans regarding your mother? No, not until she showed me the emails. What was your reaction when you read them? Marlo's voice cracked. I felt sick. I felt betrayed. I felt stupid for not seeing it sooner. Did your husband ever display controlling behavior toward you? Objection! Griffin's attorney jumped up. Relevance? Your Honor, the defendant's pattern of manipulation is relevant to establishing his intent. I'll allow it. Answer the question, Mrs. Kendrick. Marlo nodded. He controlled everything. My phone, my money, my friendships. He'd get angry if I talked to people he didn't approve of. He'd check my messages. I felt like I couldn't breathe without his permission. Did he ever threaten you? Not physically, but he'd say things. That I was lucky he married me. That no one else would want me. That my mum had made me weak and he was fixing me. The jury was riveted. Mrs. Kendrick, did you ever fear for your safety? Yes, especially after I got pregnant. He'd punch walls when he was angry, break things. He never hit me, but I was scared he would. I started sleeping with my door locked. Did you know about the money he was taking from your mother? Not the extent. He'd tell me she offered, that she wanted to help. When I questioned the amounts, he'd say I was being paranoid, that I was stressed from the pregnancy and imagining problems. Did he ever gaslight you? Objection. Leading. Sustained. The DA rephrased. Did he ever make you question your own memory or perception? All the time. I'd remember conversations one way. He'd swear they happened differently. I started recording our talks because I didn't trust myself anymore. You recorded him? Yes. And what did those recordings reveal? Marlo looked at Griffin. He stared back. Cold. Empty. That everything was a lie. Our relationship. His feelings. Even... Her voice broke. Even wanting our baby. In one recording, he told his friend he was planning to give our child up for adoption without telling me. For money. Gasps in the courtroom. The DA played the recording. Griffin's voice, clear and damning. Kids are expensive. We'll probably give it up for adoption. More money that way. Marlo was crying now. I'm carrying a child he sees as a transaction, as something to sell, and I didn't know. I didn't know any of it. No further questions. Griffin's attorney approached for cross. But what could he say? His client's own voice had just condemned him. He tried anyway. Mrs. Kendrick, isn't it true that you and your husband had arguments like any couple? This wasn't arguments. This was abuse. Isn't it true that you're testifying against him because you're angry? Because the marriage didn't work out? Marlo looked at him with steel in her eyes. I'm testifying against him because he's a predator, because he targeted my mother and me, because he's done this to other women, and because if I don't stop him, he'll do it again. Mrs. Kendrick? I'm done, she said firmly. I've answered your question. Judge Reeves nodded. The witness may step down. As Marlo walked past Griffin, he leaned toward her, whispered something. She stopped, turned, and in a voice loud enough for everyone to hear, "You can't scare me anymore. You have no power here." Then she walked to the gallery and sat beside me. I took her hand. We'd survived. Together. The prosecution spent the next 2 days burying Griffin in evidence. Financial expert. Mr. Kendrick withdrew $47,000 from Mrs. Schultzine Pemberton's accounts without authorization. The pattern shows escalating theft, typical of financial elder abuse cases. Forensic psychologist. The defendant displayed classic narcissistic manipulation, love bombing initially, followed by isolation, gaslighting, and financial exploitation. Both victims show signs of psychological trauma consistent with sustained emotional abuse. Detective from California. Mr. Kendrick was previously investigated for similar behavior against his ex-wife's mother in San Diego. That victim settled out of court, but the pattern matches exactly. The detective from Oklahoma. Victim 3, elderly widow, lost $80,000 to Mr. Kendrick before her son intervened. She was too afraid to press charges, said he'd threatened to ruin her family if she talked. 4 victims, 4 families, 1 predator. The defense tried to fight back. Called character witnesses, Griffin's brother, a former colleague, who testified he was generous and misunderstood. But the evidence was overwhelming. The final blow came when the DA played Griffin's own recorded conversation with Derek, his partner. "These old women are so easy. You just have to pretend to care. Make them feel needed. They'll hand over everything. It's like taking candy from a baby, except the baby has a 401k. Laughter on the recording. The jury looked disgusted. Griffin's attorney had nothing, no rebuttal, no explanation, no way to spin those words into something innocent. When the prosecution rested, Judge Reeves looked at the defense. "Does the defense wish to call any witnesses?" Griffin's attorney hesitated. If Griffin testified, the prosecution would destroy him on cross-examination. "No, Your Honor. The defense rests." "Very well. Closing arguments tomorrow morning." The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Marlowe and I sat in the hallway, waiting. Mrs. Chen brought coffee. Attorney Martinez paced. "4 hours is good," she said. "Means they're being thorough? Reviewing everything?" At 3 p.m., the bailiff emerged. "We have a verdict." The courtroom filled quickly. Press. Supporters. Griffin's family on one side, mine on the other. Griffin sat motionless. His attorney whispered to him. He didn't respond. Judge Reeves entered. "Has the jury reached a verdict?" The foreman stood. Older man. Stern expression. "We have, Your Honor." "On the charge of elder financial abuse, how do you find?" "Guilty." My hand squeezed Marlowe's. "On the charge of fraud?" "Guilty." "On the charge of forgery?" "Guilty." "On the charge of theft over 30,000? "Guilty." "Guilty. Guilty. Guilty." 6 counts. Every single one. Griffin's face went white. His attorney slumped. Judge Reeves banged her gavel over the courtroom murmurs. "Order. Mr. Kendrick, please stand." Griffin stood. For the first time since I'd met him, he looked small, powerless. "The jury has found you guilty on all counts. I'm remanding you to custody immediately. Sentencing will be in 3 weeks. Bailiff." 2 officers approached, handcuffed Griffin, led him away. He looked back once. At Marlowe. At me. I saw no remorse in his eyes. Just anger. Just the cold calculation of a predator who'd been caught. Then he was gone. The courtroom erupted. Supporters hugging. Press shouting questions. Griffin's brother yelling about appeals. But I just sat there, holding my daughter, both of us crying. "It's over," Marlowe whispered. "Mum, It's really over. It's over, I repeated. Judge Reeves had stayed on the bench. She looked at me. Really looked at me. Mrs. Pemberton, I want you to know, in 25 years on this bench, I've rarely seen a case this clear-cut. What you endured, what you survived, what you had the courage to fight. I'm sorry you went through it, but I'm grateful you stopped him. In the meantime, on the final screen, I'm leaving you with two of the channel's most beloved stories. I'm sure they will surprise you. Thank you for staying with me until now.